Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to look at Sweet Deals. This game is going to be published by Surprisingly Fun Games, and it's designed by Sean Patton. It's a 1 to 8 player game that takes about 15 minutes to play. In this game, you're going to be trying to collect sets of sweets, and you're going to be doing this by bidding with other players and trying to collect as many of these matching sweets as possible to score the most points at the end of the game. Let's go ahead down to the table. I'm going to show you how to play not only the multiplayer game, I'm also going to show you how to play the solo game this time. I know I'm not the biggest solo player in the world, but I did have a lot of fun playing the solo version of this game. So let's go ahead down the table. I'll show you how to play both of those, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to give you my final thoughts. All right, so this is how to play Sweet Deals. Now, Sweet Deals is going to take about 15 minutes to play, and it plays between 2 and 8 players. You're going to have 63 dessert cards. You're going to have 2 winner cards here. You're going to have 8 bake sale cards and 8 reference cards. So there's a little bit of setup before you start the game. In a 2 to 3 player game, you're going to remove all the cards that have a 4, so you can see there's still a little 4 down here, and the 6 plus. So all the cards that have that you're going to remove from the game for a 2 to 3 player game, so it'll be 30 cards. In a 4 to 6 player, you're going to remove all the ones that have that little plus 6 on the bottom, and that'll remove 15 cards. If you're playing 6 to 8 players, you're just going to keep all the cards in the deck. You'll shuffle these up really good to start the game. Then you're going to deal each player 7 cards. All right, and I'll have some random cards over here. Well, we'll just set the opponents. We'll just pull from the deck here, and then each player is going to get a on your turn card and a bake sale card. All right. And then you put the winner and the I Got Sweet 16 off to the side. You'll be claiming those towards the end of the game here. Whoever most recently ate a donut gets to go first. If no one ate any donuts recently, just pick among yourselves who's the first player. The goal of the game is to get the most points by collecting multiple desserts of the same name. So throughout the game, you're going to be trying to get these different cards. There's only one mocha card in the game, by the way, and it's just 5 points. But there's like chocolate. Let's get some cards out here. There's some cupcake. There's pie. Here you have 2 cookies. And if you look at your card here, you can see what the scoring is for sets. So if I had 2 cookies, I would gain 4 points. If I get 3 cookies, I get 7 points. If I get 4 of a kind, I get 14. If I get 5 of a kind, I get 17 points. If I get 6, I get 22 points. Now, in addition to that, so the set value here, you're also going to get the value printed on these cards at the end of the game. Now, one thing with this game is you're never going to have more than 7 cards. The 7 cards are what you're going to have at the beginning of the game, and 7 cards are what you're going to have at the end of the game. And we'll do a scoring example here in a little bit. Players are going to take turns until someone is able to get 6 of a kind. When someone gets 6 of a kind, they're going to call out Sweet 6, and they're going to get the I Got Sweet 6 card. And the game's going to end, and we're going to do final scoring. So what do you do on your turns in this game? All right, so this is what you do on your turn. You're going to offer dessert. You're going to pick a dessert from you would like to swap and say only the name of it. Going clockwise, other players will bid or pass. To bid, they're going to choose a single card that they are willing to give away or swap, and they're just going to say the coin number on it. It's going to range between 0 and 5 points. Continue circling around with the other players, allowing matching bids or bid increases until there is a winner, a single high bidder, or multiple winners offering the same high bid. Then finally, you're going to secretly swap cards with the winner, or if the players are tied, both reveal their desserts to all, and the player offering them gets to choose which one to swap for. Now, let's do a quick example. So in this example, I have my 7 cards. Look, I have 2 sets. I probably don't want to give away the game. I'm going to go ahead and I wanted to get rid of this cupcake. So I'm going to say cupcake. I don't say the value, I just say cupcake. I'm going to draw a little hand here, so pretend I'm other players here. I'll draw 2 hands. And the first player here is going to look at their hand and say, okay, do I want a cupcake? This player is probably not going to want a cupcake. But also notice that this player has the mocha, which is the highest card, and there's only 1 in the game. So this one's like an auto win or keep for 5 points at the end of the game. So this player is going to pass. This player is going to look at their hand. Oh my, I have a double card here. This is a cookie and a donut, so it could count for either. So I have 3 cookies here currently. That's a pretty good. And I have 2 ice creams, a frozen and a chocolate. I don't actually want this card either. Now, if either of these players did want this card, they would just say, pick one of the cards. So let's say I wanted to get rid of this pie. I would say 3. I wouldn't tell you it's a pie. I would just say 3. Then this player would look to see if they want to match it. They could do a 3 cookie if they wanted, or pass. Once everyone has either matched or passed it, then we're going to swap. If this was the only player who put anything down, they would get this card, I would get this card. I could take a look at it and notice, wow, it's a pie. That was a great deal. I didn't even expect that. Or it could have been anything else because I don't know what the type is. I just know the amount. Now, what happens if no one bids? If everyone passes, discard the dessert face up and draw a new one. So if no one wanted my dessert, I would just discard it face up like this and draw a new one, and I get this card. But that's not what happened. So everyone's going to continue doing this in turn order. Once one player's offered it, the next player's going to offer one, and so on and so forth, until someone gets 6 of a kind. When they get 6 of a kind, they're going to call out Sweet 6, and then they have ended the game. They're going to get this card to show they've done that, and now we're going to figure out the winner. And you're going to look at this scoring card here to help figure it out. So I know that this right here, I have 3 sets. The first thing I'm going to add up in these sets is going to be this number down the bottom. So here's 5, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13 points. So I have 13 points right there. Next, I'm going to add up my points for my sets. So I have 3 of a kind, so that's going to be 7 points. So that gives me 20, 13 plus 7. Then I'm going to look at these 2, that gives me 4, so I get 24 points. And then I have another set of 2 that gives me 28 points. Now the person with the highest score at the end of the game is going to win. However, the player, if there's a tie, the player with the most dessert types wins. So I have 3 dessert types. If you're still tied, the player with the most coins wins. And I have 13 coins. And that is sweet deal. All right, so there's one more thing that you can do in this game on your turn. And it's once per game, unless you're playing a 2-player game. You can do it as many times as you want. And that is a bake sale. Once you do a bake sale, you'll flip it over to the sideshow that you've done it. And you don't have another bake sale you can do during the game. However, every player has one. So this one's pretty simple. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to draw a card, then you're going to discard a card. The next player is going to pick whether they're going to pick up that card or pass. If they pick up the card, they need to discard a card. Either way, whether they pass or discard a card, it will go to the next player. That player will either pick up the discarded card or pass, and it'll keep on going until it goes around. And then once that's done, you're going to flip this over and show that you have completed your bake sale. And that's the one bake sale that you got in the game. Now, just as a general note, this can go on for a while because this will continue on until everyone passes, just to let you know. So when it gets back to the original player that played it, they can still pick up that discarded card and place a card down or pass. All right, so there's a couple other notes. You can do a variant of this game. You can do closing early. Basically, it's a alternate way of ending the game. At the start of your turn, you can vote to see if you close early. If all the players agree, then you can end the game immediately. If not, you take your turn normally. So that's a variant you can use instead of waiting till you get the set of 6. There's important reminders in here. You always have 7 cards. You can never have more than 7 cards in the game. Yeah, it's always, cards are always 1 for 1. You have to accept or pick up the highest bid on your turn. You have to. You don't have a choice. If someone bids highest, you swap. When you're offering a card, you only say the name of the dessert. You can't say anything more. And when you're bidding, you only say the coin value. You cannot say what it is to help sweeten the pot or anything like that. You have to only say the coin value. Passed on a dessert in a bake sale, if the dessert changes, you can take it on your next turn, unless everyone has passed, just to let you know. Grab and go interrupts a player to swap for a bake sale card. They can now take the grab and go. So the grab and go is a special card. Now there's 4 main special cards in this game. You're going to have dual cards. These cards are special because they count as both dessert types. But they have a 0 point on them. So this one is a strudel cupcake. So it's both a strudel and a cupcake. We also have some wild cards. The wild cards here, like sprinkles, count as any one dessert. But for scoring, you have to pick which one dessert is going to be. You also have interrupts, like the grab and go that we just talked about. So let's find an interrupt here. So here's grab and go. So if you play this grab and go card, play it any time to swap with any available dessert. So it'll get swapped with the dessert. And then the mocha card, which we've seen a couple times, so the mochi card, which is the only one in the entire game, and this is worth 5 points, which is a good bit of points. And you may or may not want to pick that up in the game. So that is how you play Sweet Deals. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to show you how to play the solo version of this game. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the solo version of the card game Sweet Deals. You're going to set aside the I got Sweet 6 and the winner card. You're not going to use those. You're going to set aside all 8 bake sale cards and 7 of the score cards. You're going to keep 1 score card for yourself, and you're going to shuffle up the 63 dessert cards really well. You're then going to deal yourself 7 cards. And just like the base game here, or in the multiplayer game, you're always going to have 7 cards all the way up until the end of the game. It's always a 1 for 1, and you're never going to have more than 7 cards or less. That was a bake sale card. All right, so we're going to set these into 4 piles here, just roughly even. So I'll try to make these roughly even. And then we're going to flip over the top card of each deck. All right. So now that we have that done, let's go over what your goal is in this game. Okay, so what are we going to be doing? We're going to try to get the most points, collecting multiple desserts of the same name. But be careful, all the cards we discard throughout the game are going to be scored against us. All right, so we're going to be playing through, and we're going to continue on until one of the 2 things happens. Either one of these piles runs out, or we have 6 of the same matching desserts in our hand. So what do we do on our turn? Well, we have 4 different decisions. We can pick the top of any one of these cards. And generally what you're going to do is you're going to take a look at your hand and see what you got going here. So I have 2 chocolates, 2 cupcakes. I have this wild that could be a cupcake. And I have this frozen pop and this cookie. So probably, more than likely, I'm going to try to keep on going with cupcakes. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this cupcake. This cupcake would go to my hand, but I'm going to leave it out here for a second so I can show you this next part. Then I have to discard a card. In this case, I'm going to get rid of the cookie. Now, a couple things are going to happen in here. If you discarded the same value, which this is not the same value, this is a 2 and a 1. If I discarded a 1 value card, nothing would happen and I'd be able to take my next turn. If the discarded card is lower coin value, then I have to flip over cards to equal it. So let's say instead we swapped them, just for example's sake. So this is a 2, this is a 1. I'll have to flip over 1 card to add it to that pile. But since we didn't do that, I don't need to do that. So this is still face down, and now this is going to be higher. If the discarded card is higher value, you may burn 1 or more face-up cards from the pile whose coin value add up to the amount you overpaid. So I overpaid. and I can burn this card here, and it was a bad choice, but it is now good. Why would you want to do this? Well, since it's a May, I probably don't want to do this right now, but if I did, if I run out of this deck, I trigger the end game quicker. So I may want to do that because maybe I have a really good hand, but it's probably going to be a while before I can get 6 matching. And that can be really bad because we keep adding up onto this deck here. Once we finish this, we're going to go ahead and flip over the cards again. So there's a face-up card for each. We're going to check the end condition, which again is going to be if I have 6 matching desserts or one of the piles empty. So if not, we're going to go and we're going to continue on doing this sequence until that end game scenario is triggered. So for scoring's super simple. Just like in the base game, you're going to add up the coins of all your cards. So for this example here, let's say I finished for some reason. Here, I would add up 2, 5, 6, 9, 13, 14 points. Then I would take a look at my scoring card and I would see how many matches I have. So I have 4 of a kind, that's 14 points, and I'll add that to my score. And I have 2 of a kind, which is 4 points, and I'll add that to my score. I will then, let's say this has been a while, and we have some cards over here. I will add up the coins on here, and if I have beaten that score, I have won the game. Otherwise, I have lost the solo game. Now, there's some goals here. So if you have won more by more than 5, you get the sweet title. If you win more than 10, you get the super sweet title. And if you win by more than 15, you get the super duper sweet title. And that's a solo game of sweet deals. Now, there's some FAQs in the back of the instruction manual if you have any questions on some of the different things that can happen in the solo game. But basically, the solo game is pretty straightforward. And it is where, again, you are just taking turns, grabbing from these different piles and discarding cards. Now, a couple big rule that is in the FAQ is you can never get from the discard pile at any point. You can only grab from the top of the stack. So grab and go will only get you a card on top of one of these stacks. You can never get anything in the discard pile. Once they're there, they're scored against you. So that's a big thing to remember in there, and I thought it was a big point to bring up. But like I said, that is how you play the solo version of Sweet Deals. Let's go ahead back up to the table here, and I'll give you my final thoughts on Sweet Deal. All right, so that was both the multiplayer and the solo game for Sweet Deal. Now, the component quality in this game is good. It's going to be your normal component quality for like card games of this type. So it's going to last a good bit of time, especially when you're playing with kids and stuff. It might get a little damaged, but overall it's going to be fine. So that's basically components. Let's go back into gameplay. So gameplay for this game, the multiplayer game, is a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun getting those sets and putting out that card and just saying what it is, what type it is, but not its value, and then having everyone else bid on the value. And you're hoping to try to get those sets going. But the most valuable thing to you is actually sometimes just getting that highest coin card in your hand, so that when someone says the type that you're trying to collect your set for, you can bid high on it. Overall, a lot of fun. The game does take a little bit more than 15 minutes. I'm not sure where that matrix came in. It does depend on player count. The more players, if you play with 8 players, it's probably going to be around more like 30 minutes. But if you play with a smaller player count, like 4 or less, it'll be closer to the 15. So not a big deal on that. It is a fun, fast game, and you really don't feel the time at all during the game. It really flies by because there's a ton of player interaction in this game, which I really, really love. So the multiplayer game, if you're looking for a fun family weight card game, I highly recommend Sweet Deals. If you're looking at a solo game, and the solo game here is going to be a fun little puzzle that you can have to beat the game and you're looking for a solo puzzle style game, Sweet Deals is another game that will be up your alley. It's really interesting when you have those 4 different stacks of trying to maximize the points in your hand without giving the game too many points. I really do like that challenge. This does, the solo game is, I believe, for the most part, solvable, and you can make it a little bit more difficult on yourself in later plays, but it does take a little bit. So I did have a lot of fun playing it, and the multiplayer in this game is phenomenal. So overall, I really liked Sweet Deals. I think it's a really great card game, and if you see it, I would definitely recommend giving it a play. And I will be putting this in my board game collection. I don't put a lot of games in here, but I think this is going to be a great family weight game that I can have just to play card games when anyone wants to play just a card game. This would be a great game to bring out. Super easy to teach, fun, and fast to play. So that's my thoughts on Sweet Deals. Thank you for watching.